is a very intimate journey which opens to public spaces, and in the first place to Beirut as a continuous changing, mutating city which continued to build in order to destroy and destroy in order to build. So it's Hanane, me, the citizen, the mother, the wife, and the actress who does jogging every day, as I'm doing in the real life, in order to prevent stress and osteoporosis. And while I'm walking and running, I recall dreams, erotic dreams, acting dreams, all kinds of dreams, frustrated dreams, or happy or sad dreams. And little by little, I slip into the Medea, the character. Why? Because there is a very personal reason that made me go to dig or to put myself in the body of Medea. And little by little, without knowing, without feeling this from outside, the audience will be hearing and facing the stories of three contemporary Medeas, real women, the stories of real women, real events that happened during the latest 20 years in Beirut. From all the ancient Greeks' mythic personage, I have been always fascinated by some of them, and by Medea especially. But I was always arguing my teachers, saying that whatever the reasons could be, a mother could not kill her children. And I was always feeling schizophrenic when playing Medea, because I was so fascinated by the character and at the same time so refusing to be convinced by her motives. Till the time my 7-year-old boy, Ali, got a very aggressive cancer. And when I very quickly reached with him the peak of pain, and I couldn't do anything to him, I dreamt once while I was jogging that I put a cushion on his head and I killed him. From that moment, I killed him with a maximum of love. From that moment, I really had a shock, and I realized that a mother could kill the children or her own children for several reasons. And I began to revisit Medea. From time to time, while jogging, from time to time, I was dreaming or thinking about Medea, and writing scenes about my relationship to Beirut, very humoristic scenes, very satiric scenes about me and Beirut, and my relationship to the city, to men, to love, etc. And while I was writing those scenes, I wasn't thinking about doing a play. But while I was putting those little disparate scenes, an event happened in Mount of Lebanon, in a very civilized town, where a very educated, beautiful woman who married her husband after an exemplary story, a love story, woke up one day and gave a poisoned fruit salad to her own 3 daughters, and then gave her also death. But before doing this, she videotaped a video to her husband about half an hour, where she expressed to him why she did that. But the video disappeared. So it was a shock for the whole town, because no indices were there in order to really reveal what's going to happen. And for me as an actress, I tried by every means to have this video. It was distracted. First of all, I was sad, but then I said, it's a good incentive for me to let my brain dig into the what might be the reasons, and maybe I will drag the audience to think with me. I will not give answers, but I will rebuild the story in a way that each one of the audience could think himself or herself about what would be. And this was really a good richness for the theme. And I was supposed to finish the play with the story of Yvonne, this Medea. But in 2013, something happened, and then, in my opinion, gave the ultimate meaning of the play, of what could be Medea's. It was a mother from South Lebanon who did not kill directly her children, but who was, after a big deception, love deception, and after being leftist and believing in a socialist way of solidarities, etc., she shifted after the Israeli invention of 1982. She shifted little by little to the Muslim ideology, and after a big deception, love deception coming from her husband, who left her suddenly to another woman, she felt that the only hope and the only something that could remain in life and after life is God. And she began to only believe that God is the Savior, and she began to raise her 3 boys in a way that they have to be for God and believe in God, and whatever they do, it's going to be for the sake of this other life of the paradise. And she was hoping from the bottom of her soul that she will become, if God loves her, she will become a mother of a martyr, and her children also would be martyrs. And in 2006, 2 of her children were killed in South Lebanon fighting against Israel. At that time, she was very, very proud. So she fulfilled what she ever wanted to have. But in 2013, her 3rd child, who went to fight in the far north this time. The first 2 died in the far south. This one went to fight in Syria in the far north, and he got killed. And he got killed, but she received a letter from him. He succeeded to sneak a letter for her, saying that he wasn't a martyr, he was killed on purpose in Syria. And he explained in the letter, we understand what happened. And it's really something unexpected. Yani, everyone who read this letter is shocked. So after she knew what happened to him, she felt that everything she was living for collapsed upside down, and nobody till now was able to see her again. I don't know if she's still living or she's dead or what she did to herself, but she felt all she was believing in was no meaning. And so this kind of shift in the story of Medea, in my opinion, gave the whole meaning to the play, and convinced me that maybe I have a substance, something very important to tell through my personal journey. In my opinion, the importance of this play is not only comprised in the content and in the artistic form. It's also, while I was doing this work, I really was thinking conceptually about in 2 lines, the activist line and the artistic line, and both converted in a choice. a choice which is I dropped all the sophisticated work that I was making on lighting and everything, and I adopted the empty space of Brook, where the center of the work is the actor or the actress and the audience and the relationship between them. Why? Because I wanted from the beginning to realize three things. To the decentralization of culture, because there are a lot of vivid cultural life in Beirut, but outside these few kilometers, there is desert. Nothing is happening. So people, maybe in hundreds of towns, people are never seen a film or a play or whatever artistic work could be. This is one. So the right of those people to have access to culture and to arts, for me, was essential. Second is the freedom of expression, because more and more this liberal city that you talked about, maybe relatively to some other Arab countries, still you can go in the street, get in a taxi and say whatever you think about the President of the Republic or all deputies, which is very good. But more and more in theaters, cinemas, and in artistic expressions, we have more censorship. And in this censorship, not only the state is exercising really very strict limits, and they oblige the artist to submit the text of the play beforehand to get the visa and to pay money in order to have that. But the real censors are not only the states, but any religious man from the Islamic side or Christian side or whatever who has power could make a call and ask to stop that work or to prohibit this action. And also the men of power, like the deputies or ministers, who most of them used to be militias men and mafioso men, who are in power now, because they are going more and more into the corruptions, and we as artists are feeling ourselves more and more resisting this kind of trends in our. So all these powers are interfering and letting this censorship issue more complicated and more escalated. So we've been a kind of a group of artists. I'm calling myself artivist, because for me doing theater and doing activism goes hand in hand. We've been active in proposing, in protesting, and doing demonstrations, and proposing new laws for theater and movies. And what we wanted is to lift up all the censorship, prior censorship, allow the artists to do whatever they want, like in all countries, and after presenting the work, whoever has something to say about something or a phrase, or if he feels offended, he can go to the court. So, but each time we realize a step, we feel that if a minister changes or a cabinet changes, we go backwards, a long way to go. So we resume again and again the same efforts uselessly. So I felt after 30 years of doing theater that I'm feeling insulted if I'm going to comply again to this law. And I told myself, whatever will be the price that I have to pay, I will not submit my text to the censorship. You will see the text. I think it won't pass anyway. But even if it will pass, and even if they give me the visa, I don't want to do this act, because I'm feeling this is insulting to the artists. So it's not acceptable in 2017 to still to have this. And the price, I was conscious that the price could be that I could be put in prison. I could have to pay at least $10,000, and the space where I'm going to play could be shut down. But while I was, of course, I didn't want to endanger the group that I'm working with, especially that I have some Syrian, the technical director with me was Syrian. So even if I'm ready to go to prison, I said to myself, if I go to prison, I will do a play with the women over there. But this is not the case. So I wanted to really think a bit further in the subject. And I discovered while I was discussing with lawyers and activists that in Lebanon, this censorship law is not applied to the media, yani for journalists or for TV men or for. Why? Because they have their syndicates, and when this law was put, they protested they are numerous, and it was put during the war, this law, to prevent, as they said, the fighting between the different parties, and it was meant to be abolished after the war. But it was abolished for media, but not for theater. And so since it's not applied for media, I discovered that if I don't make tickets, if I always play for free for everybody, so the Minister of Finance or the state doesn't have anything to do with me. And I called it Jogging, theater in progress, not work in progress, because for me, theater is a continuous laboratory, and from time to time, if a story happens, I integrate it in so I change sometimes the introduction in between the text. So this is a continuous work, and for them, they will not really guess if it's a finished work or still like a rehearsal. So it was like an échappatoire, and I decided, instead of doing tickets, I printed the text in 3 languages. I can show it to you. I have so in Arabic, English, and French. And this was the kind of the ticket that people could buy, because the censorship is not applied to the printed text. So this was a kind of the mean I found in order to do the play, and it worked. Now I did more than 75 performances all over Lebanon, in Palestinian camps, in Syrian camps, in very deprived and marginalized areas, in public schools and university, and of course in Beirut also. I'm always repeating, and when I will be coming back, I will do it in the only big public space, garden public space in Beirut, in front of people coming from everywhere with no fees. Till now, for foreign audience, starting Turkey or Belgium or Edinburgh, British and Scottish people, it's really very, very well received, because they discovered that they are seeing something they don't know, or it's shifting their notions about what is the idea of women in Lebanon, of politics in Lebanon, of freedom in Lebanon, of politics in Lebanon, and not from a politicized way of doing theater. It's not preaching. It's really discovering this through a critical, real stories, unexpected, the unspoken stories. This is the word. Stories that even in Lebanon, when I'm telling that story, some of the people are, oh, this is really happened here. So this is the unspoken, is what is stimulating people and generating interest, a big interest in the play, wherever it goes, either in Lebanon or outside, either in the cultured circle of people, or the people who never went to. Everybody is finding a centre d'intérêt in the play, and but of course the reactions are not all like honey. Once in a suburb of Beirut, because I always do a kind of open discussion after the play, so a young man stood up and told me, from where you got this courage and this I don't know how to tell it in English. So how do you dare to tell such things? You are not afraid that I'm getting my revolver and shutting you up now in front of everybody? I told why. He said because you are touching sacred principle, and I said sacred. What kind of sacred? He told me martyrdom. You cannot talking about martyrs like this. I said I'm not preaching. I'm not here a politic man. I just told an unspoken story, a real story. Do you doubt that the story happened? If you doubt, I can take it. I can take you to where it happened and talk to the women that lived such a story. He didn't answer, but he was so. How can I said? He was so. He wasn't. The word is not sad, but you know when you are shocked by something and everything that you were thinking about was disturbed. So yeah, this is one reaction. In another town in the north of Lebanon, in one scene where I'm shouting to God, because there is a scene, a very kind of harsh scene where I'm talking to God and I'm shouting at Him. I recall a scene with my lover Muhammad, where we used to demonstrate in the 60s and 70s in the downtown of Beirut, claiming God is dead, God is dead, Dieu est mort. It was a slogan at that time. And before, it was a middle in the scene. And before I continue the scene, a number of about 15 women, veiled women, stood up and left the theater. And they left the theater protesting that it was blasphemy and it was a kind of, it's not permitted to talk to God like this, etc., etc. And it was a kind, they created a kind of little revolution and turmoil among the community. So I understood their reactions because I can understand them, and I asked to meet them a week later. It wasn't easy to meet them, but when I met them, I told them, I understand very well your reactions, but I want to ask you a question. If we talk about the Quran, in the Quran there is a verse that's saying, for example, don't approach the prayer. Do you stop at this sentence? They said, no, there is a continuous continuity to it. I said, what it is? They said, don't approach the prayer if you are drunk. So you have to complete the sentence in order to understand at least what is said. Either you will do what is said or not. They said, of course. So I asked them, what did you do in the while you were watching? You stood up in the middle of the scene and you left, and you didn't see the continuity of the scene. They said, what could be the continuity of the scene? I told them, very in a humble way, I'm inviting you to come next time, because I'm going to perform again in Tripoli, because I performed there 3 times, and to come to be my guest and to stay until the end, and after we will do a discussion again and you will tell me what's your opinion. They came. They stayed at the end till the end of the play. They were very impressed at the end, to the extent that one of them stayed with me. She helped me putting in the accessories in the wallets, etc., etc. And she told me, please, I want to tell you a story I didn't tell to myself, to herself. So we went, we took a coffee together, and she told me her personal story, where she was violated, raped at the age of 13 by her uncle, and she got pregnant. She had a child, and her family killed her child, And since then, she is escaping from town to town, from camp to camp until now. And she changed her name. She's living with no ID card, in a very, very, very difficult situation. And she told me, this is the first time I tell my story to anybody. So this kind of reactions are happening, and it's very, for me, touring with this play in different places, in different community, in different, where you have different mentalities, for me is the most important aim. يعني, of course, I was keen to make a good artistic play. I worked as much as I could, but this wasn't the only thing that I wanted really to regain, or to contribute to regain the first meaning of theater, being an agora where you could meet in a free public area space, and where we could discuss, we could dare to say the unspoken, we could really be able to confront each other, and to find a way to resist all the negative powers that are prevailing more and more in our society and in the world in general.